Welcome to Social Media Fridays. Each week we meet to wind down and talk about what happened this week in the world of social media. With us today we have Meher Bhagat. Meher will pop in and out from time to time. There are some connectivity issues from between here and India. And we have Edwin Jonk. Edwin is CEO of IDESTHOST in the Netherlands, IDESTHOST.nl. And Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net, WASAWEB.net, and he's also a Google top contributor on the Google Plus help community and the AdSense forum. Okay, so each week when items of interest pop up, we place them in the Social Media Fridays community on Google Plus, and we come here and discuss them. This week we have one topic. It was posted by Edwin Jonk, and it was about the unfortunate situation of a young man who posted an egregious review. I think if you were going to make a rule, you'd probably say never do something wrong to a lawyer. Anyway, that's what he did, and it's cost him plenty. What are your thoughts on this, guys?
Well, to summarize the case again, essentially, a person in England, in Telford, wrote defamatory review on a lawyer's local Google Plus page. And the lawyer the lawyer is located in the United States. The lawyer then subpoenaed information from Google about whose account posted that fake review or defamatory review. Then he found out that the person lived in England, so he pursued a case in the English courts, and a court in England judged that the review was defamatory and was probably written or at least authorized by the person, and awarded £50,000 in damages. And in addition, the defendant, the person who wrote the review, will have to pay costs. So he's looking at around, I think, £100,000 for damages and cost. So it was a very costly review in that sense. And it's unclear why he had written this defamatory review. He wasn't a client of this lawyer, but it seems to be the case that he had written the review as a Fiverr gig. So someone had paid him $5 or £5, I don't know, and he wrote this review on a local Google Plus page. We know this happens quite a lot. I mean, people hire others to write a positive review for their own local Google Plus pages or other similar platforms. And then some people employ these fake reviewers to write negative reviews on the competition. And it may have been something like that in this instance.
Mm. Yes, it's a vexed question, isn't it? And so much damage can be done.
Yeah, I think it's important to stress that this is probably an exceptional case where all the right ingredients were there. The person defamed was a lawyer and knew how to proceed. I think most businesses, if they have bad review or defamatory review, it's not easy to go then straight and start a legal action. Many businesses will find that too stressful. Business owners will find that quite stressful. And it's costly too, because you have to hire a proper lawyer to do it for you. So that's sort of one ingredient. The second ingredient was that essentially the person could be sued reasonably well because he lived in England, where there is an established and relatively easy a court system that is relatively easy to access. So it was possible for the defamed to sue the defamer. If the person had lived in a country where it's very difficult to pursue these kind of actions, then it might not be practical, because anyone can leave a review. The third ingredient is, of course, that he was tracked. The defamer was tracked relatively easily. You know, if you're writing bad reviews, then you might have thought that people would make an effort to conceal their identity, so they won't be using an account that can be traced quite easily to them. So even if you find out whose account had written the bad review or fake review or defamatory review, you may not be able to sue the person because you don't know who's behind that account. So this case is very rare, I think, because there are thousands and thousands, probably millions of bad reviews, fake reviews, and many of them would be defamatory. But for a successful case like this, or, you know, from the perspective of the aggrieved party, these kinds of successes are probably very, very rare.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, it might reduce the number of people jumping up on Fiverr. I see that there's somebody just posted. Actually, this is weird. Somebody just posted on the SEO questions community, or at least I'm just seeing it now. But the time logged on it is 2:56 p.m. I don't want to derail this conversation, but it's absolutely on topic. Lisa Williams just said, how to remove negative reviews about a particular company. Can somebody help me? Yeah, but I'll just put this link in the chat. Oh, hi, Maher. I'm glad to see you arrive.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Hi. Maher is a social media dynamo from New Delhi in India. Is it New Delhi?
New Delhi.
Right, in India. But you can't play cricket.
I can play cricket.
Can you?
Yeah, I can. I'm good with it.
Look, I apologise for the defamation. We're talking about defamation right now.
Well, had you said England, then that wouldn't have been a true fact.
Well, we do know that England can't play cricket. That's right.
Well, India is definitely losing quality on that front.
Okay, do you guys see that link there? What time do you see on that question? Or have you seen that question posted earlier? I mean, why did it just pop into my stream at 7 p.m. if it was posted at 2:56?
Well, I saw this post when I logged in this morning. So.
I think I've been downgraded. I'm now a sub-profile, I reckon. Anyway, look, getting back to this unfortunate guy who's turned a $5 a gig into a $100,000 debt. What's your take on it, Edwin?
Well, I think it is way too much for negative. Well, this is not a negative review. It's more than that. To get fined £100,000. There's also there's no real connection between him and Fiverr. It was just suggested by the claimants. There's really no real connection between the review and Fiverr.com. So. And then the damages are basically twice. £25,000 to the lawyer's firm and £25,000 for the lawyer. Which I don't know. How was that calculated? Are those damages real? That's something I'd like to see. I don't think here in the Netherlands this will be a similar case can happen because it's just unfair against Mr. Page. Right? It's just a review. It's not that he murdered someone or.
No, but he's taken $5 to damage somebody's business. Now here's a lawyer that runs a practice.
Well, that's not proven that he took $5. That's suggested.
But that's irrelevant, isn't it? Whether he had been paid for it or not. That's not.
Well, I do think it is. I do think it is relevant because if it is relevant. Then you're in commercial. You're basically getting paid, so that will make you like something like a professional, or so you could get at least here in the Netherlands awarded a higher damage. Just to give an example, here in the Netherlands, the Dutch soccer team posted a selfie with basically only brown people in them, and people posted quite sometimes racist comments on Twitter, and they got fined €316, and here we have somebody that. Wrote a negative review and gets almost £100,000.
Yeah, I mean
the cases are different. One is criminal, the other one is civil law. I mean, you have to balance things out. It seems so overboard.
Yeah, I mean, we can argue whether £50,000 award as damages, whether that amount is what would be the right word? Right, the correct amount. You know, we can dispute that, but. It seems reasonably clear that the defamer actually had written that thing, the comment, that was defamatory. So, in that sense, there's no escaping that. The question of awards, I suppose, is something that can be discussed. People will think that's adequate. Others will say it's too much. some people might say it's even too low.
That's true. That's true. But okay, with this in hand, I'm seeking business for lawyers in the UK. Just look for negative reviews, contact the business owner, and see if you can get something out of court.
Yeah, I mean defamation. Well, we have an expression here called libel tourism, because it is relatively easy to start a case. Though the thing is, it's quite expensive as well. So it's not an easy thing to do here. It's not something that people would do lightly. But if people have a choice of jurisdictions, then they might prefer to do it in England and Wales rather than in other places. But I think, in a sense, the question is sort of broader, isn't it? How do you, and that goes back to the question that was posted in the Domestic Questions community, is how you deal with negative reviews, or even defamatory ones. Because that really, those kind of things, those things really do affect your business negatively.
Yeah, but you have to understand that you can have a negative review once or twice, and that's not that in this case it is the word deflammatory. So that's really a little bit different than a negative review. And as far as I know, it is also against Google's own terms and service. So, was it? Do you know if it was pulled immediately, or did he?
I think
to
so.
wait? Oh, okay.
I think Google, upon being upon notification, removed the review.
Yeah, so,
I think that was the case.
So how long was it live then?
It was mentioned somewhere. I think it was months, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So that's even more higher damage than awarded toward the claimants.
Yeah, and I think it was posted back in 2012, and that might have been at the. That's 2012. So, were local stuff moved onto Google Plus by that stage or not? I don't think so. Was it? Was it in period transition? So, I mean, it's not like that. The review was directly linked to the Google Plus profile. It might have been a Google user.
Yeah.
Without a link back to the profile. That's why I think the lawyer had to go and subpoena the information to establish who had or whose account had written that review. Because it simply had stated a Google user.
Mr. Page was a teenager back then. So
yeah.
For me, that makes it even more unfair. That's the right word.
Yeah. Ooh, it'd be interesting if he is above 18 or not.
But as a business owner, the only thing you can do on on Google is flag the post for inappropriate behavior,
Yeah.
for spam or advertisement.
He was also asked to pay his legal fee as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's 50,000 in damages and 45,000 in legal fines, which is quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. And Mr. Page had decided to, I think, represent himself at court.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was not smart.
that's not a good idea when you're facing this kind of situation. Obviously, it would have added to his legal costs, but I think having someone knowledgeable representing you or representing him might have, made a difference there. But, yeah. So I think again, the question is then how when you report things to Google, for example, or Yelp or other things. If you're running a certain establishment, it might be TripAdvisor. There's so many places where reviews can be left, can be written, and if you're under constant attack, how would you deal with that?
Well, if the negative reviews are false, yeah, at the end I would go to the site property owner. In this case, it was Google, and say, well, drop it.
Yeah. And what happens if they don't drop it, saying, look, this is probably a genuine review? I mean, let's say if it's not defamatory, if it's just a fake negative review, let's say, instead of.
Well, I'm in the Netherlands, so I will probably not do anything because Google is located in the United States. Yeah, that's it. It is hard. I think if you live in the United States, then you probably know the legal actions you can take. That it is easier to get rid of reviews. But if you live outside the US, you can, of course, you can go to court. But then what Google will do, they will only drop it from their local property. So in my case, if I go to court here in the Netherlands, they will drop it from the .nl, not from the .com or other properties. Well, if you are in the United States, they will drop it from the .com, and thereby they drop it worldwide, I think.
Oh yeah.
So is it worth to go to court here and only let it drop from the .nl? I don't know.
It'd be interesting because the Google Plus pages, the local ones, they're on plus.google.com. It's not on local TLD, is it? Country.
The maps are, of course.
Oh yeah.
Maps.google.nl, I think.
Yeah. No, the maps are. You're right.
There are reviews there. I really don't know about the Google Plus thing.
Because you see the reviews on your local Google Plus page, right? If you go to the About tab. And that I thought Google Plus is always on plus.google.com.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, the .nl is not available. Well, that's that is for someone else to try out then. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's
But I think Google and Yelp and other review sites, they are user generated, but that doesn't mean they're not responsible or don't have to take any actions. And sometimes, especially on Google reviews, Google is so slow to respond and to take any actions. On this particular case, because people didn't really like that a youngster was basically fined £100,000. People posted negative reviews, one and 2 stars. At the moment, they're still there.
I'm surprised by that because it's already a week essentially.
Yeah.
There have been a few working days, and Google should have been monitoring it because this is entirely predictable.
Yes.
People will go and write reviews saying, expressing their anger that a lawyer had gone after this person and squeezed £50,000. Lawyers aren't the most popular people, generally speaking. So the reaction is entirely predictable. And I think it is a little, shall we say, remiss on part of Google not to ensure that this entirely predictable reaction won't happen. Well, that might be impossible, but at least they would take care that this situation doesn't arise. I mean,
Well, and on the other hand, these things happen when you go to court. If you go to court, everything is in public, and you can get backslashed basically by the media or by people on social media.
Yeah.
And that can be even a higher expense than the out-of-pocket costs for the court itself. Right, you're losing a lot of reputation here, or you could possibly, especially when you lose the case.
But
it is a risky business, or a risky road to take.
Absolutely, I think in this case, the review is now posted on this law office or the practices local Google Plus page. They're not reviews because people haven't used this lawyer. They're just expressing the anger at him, the lawyer, taking this person to court in a foreign country and getting a large payout. So they're not reviews. They shouldn't be there at all. People can comment on the case on their own blogs or other places. That's absolutely fine. And that, of course, as you say, can lead to diminished reputation because people will look up, for example, online, and then there are hundreds of blog posts talking about this case in an unfavorable light as far as the lawyer is concerned. Then that's going to affect online reputation, his online reputation. But using the review function for local Google Plus page for that purpose, it's entirely inappropriate. And Google should really, I think it should have made more difficult for people to submit those kind of reviews. At least you'd have hoped that they would react swiftly to remove these non-reviews.
Yeah, and I think that's especially on Google. That's a real problem that Google doesn't take action, even if this is clear.
And I think,
of course, that doesn't make Google responsible for that particular review. But
No.
yeah,
Well, it depends. I think it's arguable, but there is real damage to the lawyer in question because his star rating has gone down quite substantially, plummeted. Because previously the fake review was just one review among many. Now that the local Google Plus page is being overwhelmed by 1-star, 2-star reviews, his aggregate score has gone down, plummeted. And that's obviously not good for his business, because if someone's looking for a lawyer, defense lawyer, and then the results come up and he has 3 point whatever stars now instead of 4 or 5, whatever it was before, then people might just think, well, oh, he might not be the best lawyer around. Because
he did, yeah.
Go ahead, Maya.
Yeah, he did lose 80% of his cases, according to Daily Mail.
No, he didn't. He didn't. That was a defamatory remark. He did not. That was one of the remarks, because that's as easy to establish.
Now, according to Daily Mail, his statement said.
Whose statement?
In Daily Mail.
Yeah.
The farming and harmless burst would seem to have dissatisfied client and stated that the world that he loses 80% of his cases. Okay. Yeah.
That's not true. Just to be clear, that so that we don't get sued. That statement is not true, and I think that's one of the defamatory statements.
Mm. I think Google should actually work up something seriously for having reviews and kind of verifying them. I mean, reviews does matter, doesn't it? But it should be taken seriously. The Google team, they should keep someone at least responsible for having fake reviews taken care of. They're very slow on that process.
Indeed. If Google acts so slowly as they do now, people have to go to court basically to ask for damages if they can. And if Google would just be acting a little bit faster, we don't have to go to court, or people don't go to court, because it only the negative review was only there for 1 or 2 days, and the damages are that low that you won't go to court for that. You're not doing this for fun. At least I'm not. Maybe this particular claimant, because it is his job. So.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. People shouldn't be now thinking, oh yeah, now I'm going to go to court whenever someone writes something bad about me. That's not the case. And obviously there are issues, because any platform will have to balance it. Because if you start to remove reviews, and if you start to remove, let's say, genuine negative reviews, then the reviewers might think, well, why am I going to write reviews on this particular platform? Because they removed mine.
That's true, yes.
So sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between genuine review and honest and negative review.
Well, the defamatory reviews, that's just auto removal from my part. The negative reviews are, of course, they are a little bit harder, because it's also things about opinion. If you go to a restaurant, somebody might not like a particular dish, and others do. So there's always a little bit of opinion, and different tastes. But in the case of the deflammatory, that's that can be removed as soon as possible, no?
Yeah, I mean, the question is if someone has made an untrue statement about your business, for example, then the question is the platform will have to decide that whether it's untrue or defamatory, and therefore subject to removal. Or they might have to investigate and say, well, it's a negative review, but that it's genuine stroke honest. It's going to be very difficult because where do you draw the line?
Actually, what you can do is, in the case of deflammatory, Google of course doesn't know if the review is true or not. They can take it down and ask the reviewer to appeal or to respond to this, and if they do, Google can decide to make it live again. If they don't, well, then it's gone.
Yeah,
it's a little bit like the DMCA thing, where you can flag somebody and Google will take it down, notify the other webmaster, and if the other webmaster doesn't respond, it will be kept down.
Yeah. Of course, the issue is that means quite a lot of bureaucracy, as it were.
Yeah.
You need to hire people to do that, and that's costly. So yeah, there's a cost element to that. So yeah, I think it's a very difficult area now because there is so much of it, and it is important.
I think we talked enough about this.
Yeah.
I was just about. I was. Oh, sorry. No, I thought I was muted, but I'm not. Okay, I was just about to ask that question, Edwin. Is there anything else that we should be discussing before we pack it up for the weekend?
Yeah, I think the lesson is quite learned. Do not write fake reviews.
Or at least defamatory ones. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said, of course.
The Facebook thing about looking out for people who may be depressed and who may have suicidal thoughts, has that come into force now?
No, but it bears talking about.
I thought I read somewhere that Facebook is now looking for signs of people who may be in serious distress and serious depression and may contemplate suicide, and they would try to sort of help those people out.
That's a good thing.
I'll try to find it because
well, they did do a couple of tests to see if they could impact how people should feel by changing the feeds. People didn't like that.
Oh, you mean that experiment where they
Yeah.
try to make people happy or sad by tweaking the post they see
Indeed, yes.
on the wall? Yeah. Okay.
So I guess they can estimate if somebody is depressed or.
Only in
there it
the
is.
US.
Yeah.
Facebook has only launched it in the US. But that's a good thing. I really do think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it's a good move. Anything that can.
Helpline for Facebook was installed. I mean, that was in 2011.
Yeah. This seems to be more interventionist, if that's the right word, because things will pop up on the person's stream that is seen as high risk.
There is an article on Huffington
Yes.
Post.
We should have put this on as a topic, Masataki.
Yeah. What I do is I'll share the BBC article that I came across. So, wait a minute.
Share it on the Social Media Fridays community, and I'll load
Yeah.
it for us to talk about next week.
Okay, could do that. Otherwise, I think it was yesterday, an English footballer was fined £20,000 for bad tweet. I don't know what exactly he had said, but he breached the social media policy and was fined £20,000, I think. So that's a totally different thing, but trying to scratch my head and see what was happening over the past week.
Well, footballers, of course, the concept of a footballer having a private life is no longer possible. Social media means that they must act with decorum at all times because they're paid squillions, and part of that deal is to maintain the brand image of the sport that they play. £20,000 fine for a player being paid $1 million a year is not a lot of money. That's a slap on the wrist. But again, yes, we must. I mean, I'm as slack as all of you guys. I really haven't had the time recently to get these articles onto our run list. But it's better to get them on so that we can put them on the screen, and the viewers that are watching, and we do have eyes watching us right now. And it's better to put them on the screen so that people can read them. Let me fix my sharing properly. There we go. All right. Do we have anything else that we should be mentioning before we go? Well, for those of you watching us right now, thank you very much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that we thank you very much. We'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again.